Hello, welcome back to Bioclass Bites. In this video, we are going to talk about freshwater biomes. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and share this video. So in this video, we are going to talk about freshwater biomes such as lakes and ponds, rivers and streams, and wetlands. Aquatic biomes are diverse and dynamic systems that cover most of the Earth. Okay? Unlike terrestrial biomes, these kind of biomes are characterized mostly by their physical and chemical environment. So if you still remember, for terrestrial biomes, we mostly focus on climate, fauna, so those are the organisms, and flora, animals. But for aquatic biomes, we will mostly focus on the physical and chemical environment of those ecosystems. They also show far less latitudinal variation with all types across the globe. To learn more about aquatic biomes, I recommend that you visit this website from National Geographic entitled Aquatic Biome. It has a lot of information and photos that you will find interesting. I'll provide the link in the description below. So these diagrams show us the zonation in two types of aquatic biomes. The first one would be zonation in a lake. Okay, so we all know that lake is actually a freshwater type of biome, and these are its zones, okay, or regions. So you have the photic zone, as the name implies. Photic, they receive ample amount of light. Okay, and that is necessary for algae and plants to perform their photosynthesis. A photic zone, the word "a" there in the beginning, it means none. A photic zone are do not receive enough light coming from the sun, or the light does not penetrate the water anymore. So here in this zone, very less photosynthesis occurs. Another zone that we have to notice in a lake would be the littoral zone. So that's the region of the lake that's close to the shore. Okay, so almost very close to the shore, and you can see here at the bottom of the littoral zone, the land part of the lake. Limnetic zone shows us the part of the lake that can still be penetrated by light, although this is mostly in the open part of the lake. Okay, so as you can see, the land below has already sloped downwards. Okay, so littoral zone near the shore of the lake. Limnetic zone, this is mostly in the open area or open part of the lake. Now, benthic zone, that's the part of the lake that's sloping downwards. Okay, benthic zone. And pelagic zone, this is the open lake or open part or open water part of this freshwater biome. So let's look at marine zonation. So as you can see, similar to lakes, okay, the marine environment is classified based on the light penetration, distance from the shore and water depth, and whether the environment is open water or at the bottom. Okay, so it similar to zonation to the zonation in a lake. You also have here intertidal zone. So this is the part of the sea. Okay, that's near to the shore, and this is where when there's high tide, it's covered with water, but when it's low tide, it is exposed. Okay, or this shore is exposed. Next is the neritic zone. This is part of the sea, okay, mostly sea or ocean that is still closer to the zone, but it's mostly covered with water. Then this region, this part, the upper portion of the sea, is called the photic zone, similar here in the lake, where light is capable of penetration. That's why the algae here or some plants here are capable of photosynthesis. Now below that is the aphotic zone. Aphotic means none. The "a" there means none. So very few light penetrates this area. So benthic zone, that's the sloping of the continental shelf, similar here. The sloping of the land portion now venturing into the sea. Okay. Then this part, so here you still have the land here below the continental shelf, okay, continental plate. But here in the pelagic zone, similar here, it's open water, okay, open water, pelagic zone. And they're here abyssal zone. That's the bottom part of the sea or of the ocean. Okay, where almost no light can penetrate this area. So you see there are certain similarities between the zonation in a lake and in seas. Okay, in marine ecosystem. One thing to note is that lakes are mostly freshwater, while while seas and oceans are salt water. So again, in this video, we will mostly focus on freshwater biomes. So to learn more about freshwater biomes, I recommend that you watch this video entitled Types of Freshwater Ecosystems, Lakes, Ponds, Rivers, Streams, and Wetlands. I'll provide the link in the description below. Now, this is from Ask a Biologist from Arizona State University. So they define freshwater biomes such as a water biome having low concentration of salt. Okay, so compared to seawater, okay, or salt water. So again, freshwater includes ponds, streams, lakes, and rivers. Because salt is important to body function, the plants and animals here have adaptations that help them save water. So here is an example of a freshwater lake in Pakistan. I'll provide the link to Ask a Biologist in the description below. So for lakes and ponds, these are mostly standing water or still water, okay? Compare that to rivers and streams, which are flowing water. Okay, so lakes and ponds, there's no current, okay? While rivers and stream, there's current, there's flowing water. So in terms of comparing a pond and a lake, a pond is generally smaller, okay? Small body of water which allows small plants to grow. While a lake is generally bigger than a pond, it's an area filled with water localized in a basin surrounded by land, okay? Apart from any river or other outlet that serves to feed or drain to the lake. So in terms of size, ponds are smaller compared to lake, and lake is actually detached from other bodies of water such as rivers. So again, lakes and ponds, standing water, still water. Rivers and stream, they have currents and they are flowing water. Compared to other aquatic biomes, ponds and lakes may have limited or low species diversity, or they have very few collection of organisms since they are often isolated from one another and from other water sources such as rivers and oceans. Okay. Another thing to note is that many ponds are seasonal. Okay, so since they are smaller, some of them can only last for a couple of months, such as sessile pools or those that are fixed in one spot, okay, since they do not flow, they do not have currents, while lakes can exist for a longer period of time, for hundreds of years or more. So again, low species diversity, low biodiversity, very few organisms compared to other aquatic biomes, and then ponds can be seasonal and lakes can last for hundreds of years. So this shows us again a zonation in a large, deep, temperate lake. Okay, so you can see here the zonations of a lake that we've discussed a while ago. Littoral zone, that's close to the shore. So limnetic zone, so this is part of the photic zone of the lake that receives ample light for enough for photosynthesis to occur. So photic zone. Then below that, the aphotic zone. So very few light can penetrate this area. So you have here the benthic zone, the part of the lake that does not receive light at all. So these are just examples of organisms that you can find in a large temperate lake. Turtles, frogs, snails, beetles, fish, okay, different species of fish, worms, plankton, muskrat, and some birds such as this blue-winged teal, and in others, ducks and in different types of birds can also exist here. So these are examples of lakes and ponds. So this is a lily pond in Davao. And this one is a man-made lake at DLSU Das Marinas, the DLSU Das Marinas Lake Park. So these are other photos. So this is from Ask a Biologist from Arizona State University. So freshwater ecosystem is unique. This is a shallow area of Vad Lake. So as you can see, since we can actually see here clearly, it means that we are in the photic zone of the lake. Okay, so they can still receive sunlight. So layers mix it up a bit when lake layers mix it up a bit when lakes freeze over. So again, depending on the location of the globe, some lakes can have a frozen upper layer, okay, during winter. So in summary, lakes and ponds are generally standing bodies of water. So they are still. They do not. There's no current. Okay, they could range from a pond to of a few square meters to an area such as a lake covering thousands of squares of kilometers. So light decreases with depth. We've noticed that in the zones from photic to aphotic zonation in a lake and pond. A chemical environment, the salinity, oxygen concentration, and nutrient content vary greatly among lakes. Okay, so we have different types of lake, and oligotrophic lakes tend to be nutrient poor and generally oxygen rich. Lakes are nutrient rich while they have depleted oxygen. In terms of geologic features, some types of lakes can have less surface area in comparison to their depths. Okay. And we've also talked about the type of organisms that can survive based on the zones of the lake. So we have photosynthetic organisms that can be found in the littoral zone, the shallow, well-lit waters close to the shore. Then farther from the shore, you can find the limnetic zone, which is inhabited by other types of phytoplanktons, including cyanobacteria. Heterotrophs, you can find assorted invertebrates, okay, that can survive in a low salinity environment of lakes and ponds. So this one is an example of a eutrophic lake, okay, as mentioned here. Nutrient rich, that's why you have a lot of plants here, okay, but very few oxygen, because as you can see, they have mostly covered this part of the lake, so light cannot penetrate into the water anymore. So those algae found under can no longer perform photosynthesis. So this one is an oligotrophic lake. So it has very low nutrients, but very rich in oxygen. So what are the human impacts to lakes and ponds? Runoff from fertilized land and dumping of waste lead to nutrient enrichment. So it increases the nutrients in the soil. So that's not, you might think that it's a good thing, but honestly it's not, because what can actually result from that are large numbers of algae or algal bloom. So since they have a lot of nutrients from the soil, this actually creates more and more algae, which then depletes the oxygen in the water, which kills the other organisms that we can find there. So when we dump off waste into ponds and lakes, it can actually cause the lake to be polluted, and eventually they will become eutrophic. Okay. Streams and rivers can be found everywhere, okay? So they get their start at headwaters, which may be springs, snow melt. So those are snow layers that we can find on mountains, even lakes, and then they travel all the way to their mouths, then emptying out into sea or ocean. So in rivers and streams, they are flowing waters. These are fast-moving water, which results in minimal silt accumulation at the bottom, okay? Therefore, the water is clearer compared to ponds and lakes. Rivers and streams are continuously moving bodies of water, again, flowing water, that carries large amounts of water from a source to a lake or headwater to its destination, either a lake or an ocean. The largest rivers in the world include the Nile River in Africa, the Amazon River in South America, and the Mississippi River in North America. So this diagram shows us the source, a possible source of water coming found in rivers and streams. So usually it begins at their source. It could be a mountain or snow melting from a mountain, okay, and then they will cascade down by melting, okay. Then they will stream down to the tributaries, and floodplains, and then they could meander. When we say meander, they could do this snake-like configuration. Okay, they flow from one area to another. Actually, when you go to grade 11, and part of our lesson would be exogenic and endogenic processes, we will talk about weathering, deposition of rivers that results into this formation. Okay, so when they meander, when they create um, this configuration on the land, eventually they could create an oxbow lake because if the water keeps on creating this curved structure, eventually these two sides of the river will meet. Okay, and then water will just flow directly through in that manner. So this will be left behind, this letter C here, then that's your oxbow lake. So if the water continuously bend this way, eventually these two parts here and here will meet. So water will just flow straight in that manner. Then this one will become an oxbow lake. Then eventually, those streams and rivers will empty out into a delta. Okay, so this is the mouth of the river, eventually going into the sea or into the ocean. So these are examples of rivers and streams. This is the Lobok River in Bohol. And here, the Colorado River at Horseshoe Bend. As you can see, if this part of the river here and this part of the river here, if they meet eventually, then this will become an oxbow lake. This one is the delta, Nile River Delta. Okay, this part. Okay, Nile River Delta as seen from the Earth's orbit. And then a rocky stream in Italy. Water may flow in rivers or gather in lakes. And when we reach our grade 11 no, and we discuss about exogenic processes, you will learn that water is such a powerful agent of erosion that they can actually carve their way through bodies of land. Okay, so they can alter the landscape, they can carve through canyons, and they can create structures such as oxbow lake. So this is what I was talking to you a while ago. So this is the meandering, okay, or the bending of the river through the powerful water current. So if this part of the river eventually meet, so water will not go here anymore, but will directly flow here, and this will be left behind as an oxbow lake. So, in summary, streams and rivers are mostly described by having high velocity, high speed, high volume of water flow. So, headwater streams or the source of water in these biomes are generally cold, clear, swift, and turbulent, and they travel downstream through the tributaries and others. Chemical environment are mostly have low salt content, so they are mostly fresh water and nutrient content. They are generally rich in oxygen. Okay, geologic features includes having narrow and rocky bottom, and they alternate between shallow sections and deeper pools. For photosynthetic organisms, they could flow through grassland, and they can actually be a good source of water for these plants here. Okay, so or they can even flow through deserts, and they could be rich in phytoplankton and rooted aquatic plants. In terms of animals, the rivers can have great diversity of fish and invertebrates. Okay, they can have different types of insects as well. Okay, in streams flowing through temperate or tropical forests, organic matter from terrestrial vegetation is the primary source of food for aquatic consumers. In terms of human impact, no, similar to lakes and ponds, agricultural and industrial pollution can degrade the water found in rivers and streams. Damming and flood control impair the natural functioning of the stream. So when we say damming, so you create a dam here to prevent the flow of river, okay, to protect, for example, the residential areas here, that they prevent the natural flow of the river and stream and can threaten migratory species such as salmon. Okay, so actually, I could recommend a documentary about how dams can actually threaten the journey of salmon back to their breeding locations. The last type of freshwater biomes are wetlands. So these are areas of standing water that support aquatic plants. Examples of these are marshes, swamps, and bogs. So for wetlands, the plant species have adapted to very moist and humid conditions, and we call those hydrophytes. Okay, so they are mostly submerged in water. So this include pond lilies, cattails, sedges, tamarack, and black spruce. So you see here, this one is um, from Florida Everglades National Park. So this is a vast array of wetland environment. So they include sawgrass marshes and mangrove forest. So wetlands are environment in which the soil is permanently or periodically saturated with water. So there are water all the time or most of the time. They are different from lakes because wetlands are shallow bodies of water, whereas lakes can vary in depth. Okay, so um, they are shallower compared to lakes, but possibly deeper than ponds. Okay. So these are the three main types of wetlands. So you have your bogs, marshes, and swamps. So here in bogs, dead plant material collects and short shrubs can grow. While in marshes, leafy plants can grow, okay? And they are usually found at the edge of other bodies of freshwater biomes. On the right here, we can find a swamp. So this one is mostly home to trees. So grass for bogs. Then you have short shrubs for marshes and trees for swamps. So wetlands are the most environmentally threatened ecosystem on Earth, and they suffer greatly from pollution and climate change and habitat destruction. Okay, they're quite problematic because wetlands, these types of biomes can provide a lot of services specifically to other organisms. So this is a salt marsh in Georgia. So cord grass, as you can see, they're not grasses, no. So these are actually taller compared to what you can find here. Okay. Um, this is the dominant vegetation in a salt marsh here in Georgia. So this one is a freshwater swamp, as you can see. Compared to others, they have mostly trees here. Okay. Trees such as bald cypress dominate freshwater swamps here in northeastern Texas. So in summary, a wetland is a habitat inundated by water at least some of the time and support plants well adapted to a water saturated soil. In terms of chemical environment, okay, high organic production of plants and decomposition by water, by microbes and other organisms. So they mostly have low dissolved oxygen. Geologic features, we've seen those basin wetlands, riverine wetlands, and fringe wetlands. Okay, so basin wetlands develop in shallow basins, so shallow ponds. Riverine wetlands, mostly rivers and streams. Fringe wetlands, they are found on the coast of large lakes and rivers. For photosynthetic organisms, we mentioned they mostly are at home to hydrophytes. So those are plants that are adapted to being submerged in water. Their water-saturated soils favor the growth of plants such as pond lilies, cattails, and others. Okay? And we've seen the different types of wetlands based on the type of vegetation that they have. So short grasses, plants, shrubs, and trees. In terms of organisms, invertebrates, birds, and other organisms, herbivores from crustaceans to insect larvae, carnivores could include dragonflies, frogs, and alligators, and herons. In terms of human impact, wetlands actually help us purify water and reduce flooding. Um, Sadly, draining and filling of this or conversion of this into land destroyed 90% of wetland in the European region. So these are examples of organisms that we can find in freshwater biomes. We can find river otters. They are semi-aquatic mammals. So they spend time in the water and land. So you can also find um, some amphibians and reptiles that can actually transition from water to land. You can find hippopotamus, okay, um, cyclid fish, You can find marshes, again, we can find that, ferns, algae, and plants that are adapted to freshwater environment. That ends our video. I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and share this video. Till next time, goodbye.